My name is Sheba Wilson. Um, I guess I can say a lot of who I am in terms of accolades and positions and titles and stuff, but really, I think at my core, I am just a person who loves pouring into other people in whatever way I can. So I use my life experiences, all that I've learned throughout my journey as a mother, as an executive, as an author, to help other people on their journeys. And sometimes that comes in the form of coaching, sometimes it comes through mentorship, other times it's through corporate contracts through my company, Catalyst Consulting or Sheba Wilson Training. But at my core, I just want to help people to live out their truest potential, to discover, what it is that sets their soul on fire, and whatever I can do to help them discover that and to use my experiences to help them navigate their own path. That's what I'm about. Gosh, I can think of so many pivotal moments throughout my life because I believe life operates in seasons. And so in each season, there was some catalyst that led to me either pivoting or, growing to accomplish what I set out to do. But I think if I had to choose one very important moment in my life that changed the trajectory of everything, I would say it had to be my experience with significant loss of loved ones. So in 2015, I lost my best friend, Samantha, very unexpectedly. She went in for a very minor surgery, and a few days later, she passed away. And that was July 2015. And then in September 2015, I lost my husband to stage 4 prostate cancer. And while he had been ill for about 18 months, that wasn't the outcome that I was expecting. But I recall a conversation that we had before he passed, just a day before he passed, where he told me, that he was going to be gone soon and he wanted me to continue living. And he told me how talented I was and how beautiful I was and young, and that he wanted me to really not grieve over losing me, but to live my life fully. And I think that has been the sound in my ears over and over again that keeps me pushing forward. And that has been that fuel that helped me to discover my purpose and what I'm passionate about. And not only have I used it for myself, but I've used it to help others, right? And so through my book, I shared a significant portion of my personal story in that book. And I just want people to be encouraged, to be inspired, and not just to be inspired, but to take inspired action, because it's the action that actually changes things. And so I think if I had to choose one pivotal moment, it would be that. Yes, I think I kind of touched on a portion of that. Obviously, the passing of my husband was one of the things that was a catalyst for me. And I think if I were to explain that to viewers, what I would say is there's something about experiencing significant loss that just causes you to look at life differently, to value life more, and to understand that your time here is limited. And you just have this sense of urgency about getting things done. And so for a long time, I knew that there was more for me to do and to be. But, I didn't really have a reason to really push or pursue because I had a very comfortable life. I had a really good husband and he provided. And so I had a decent job. I didn't have to do much. But after losing my husband and hearing his words replaying in my mind to live, life took on a different meaning for me. And so it became more so about how do you channel, the grief, the pain, the adversity, and use it in a positive way, not just for yourself, but for others. So first and foremost, I had to use that to fuel me to grow my career because I had young children. And so now I went from being a wife and having support and a family structure to being a single parent. And so the first change was navigating that. And so the fuel of hearing live, those words replaying in my mind, live. It didn't just mean, to go about life without purpose or meaning. It meant deep introspection and determining, okay, God, what is the purpose in all of this pain? And so it was through much prayer and self-reflection that I started to understand why He allowed me to go through immense pain, because I lost my father in 2011. Then I lost my best friend and my husband in the same year. And to put it into context, my father was not a part of my childhood. I only really got to know my father as a teenager because when I was born, he was in the U.S. And I met him for the first time when I was 4 years old. And so in reflecting, there was a level of bitterness. But as I became an adult, we developed such a close relationship. And I felt as if he was somehow taken away from me too suddenly and too soon because I didn't have much time with him. And all of those things played in my mind. And so how do you use that? I use it through mentorship, working with young girls and them being in single parent homes and saying to them, hey, I know what it is to be in a single parent home, but it doesn't mean that your life is doomed. It doesn't mean that you can't do great things. And so just using your own experiences to help others to understand that this is not the end. You can actually use something that might be negative, that might be painful, and turn it into something positive. And how do you do that? You determine what you can do for others, right? Because it's one thing to get all of the accolades and the positions and all of that for yourself, but it's something different when you're about legacy, and people are the legs to your legacy, right? You can't do anything of significance without people, and what you do is what is going to outlast you. So I work in human resources, and I spend most of my days mentoring, coaching, helping other persons, career mapping, helping them to discover and accomplish their own personal goals. And I get gratification from that because when you see them excel, it gives you a sense of joy and purpose and fulfillment that is not the same as you doing something for yourself. And I know that even when I'm gone, those memories will live on because it will live on in the people that I've touched and the people that I've had an opportunity to be a part of their lives and their journey in some way. Well, I think everyone has their natural giftedness, and we work in a space where everyone is developing themselves and we're all great at what we do, right? But what sets me apart is my authenticity. Because when you work with me, I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not a picture of perfection. I'm not afraid to share my flaws, my failures. A lot of times we see everyone's success, but behind that, no one really talks about the pitfalls, the failures, right? I find that when you're authentic in leadership, you connect better with other persons because then they see you as human and they understand that, hey, if she or he can do this despite all of life's challenges, despite going through these things, then I can too. Because they've been on this path, and then you have an opportunity to also help someone navigate a bit smoother than you did. Because when you share the pitfalls and you say, hey, this is what to avoid, this is how you avoid it, you're helping them to get there faster, right? And I wish that I had more of that as I was coming up in my career. And so that's why I'm so passionate and intentional about being that for other people, because had I had that level of mentorship and coaching and support, I probably would have been a lot further by this time. And so that's what sets me apart, just authentic, empathetic leadership. While I love identifying talent, one of the things that I dislike in HR is having to sift through resumes and try to determine who should be shortlisted, and then all of the steps involved in follow-up and determining who goes to the next round. So as an HR professional, having worked in the space in a leadership role for more than 10 years, I recognize that there had to be a simpler way, and also a way to use technology to help us to get things done faster. So the way that She Leads HR solution works is you are able to apply online. So an applicant would either scan a QR code or go directly to the website for the particular company, and we give a URL, and that person then is able to apply online. And so once they apply, they automatically get a response stating that their application has been received. We're also able to send automated messages with the times available for interview. The candidate can then select the time that works best for them, instead of you having to have a phone call or you making time to send an email. All of this is automated. So the templates are uploaded into the system and the communication happens on the spot in real time. And once the candidate schedules the interview, then the hiring manager also gets an email to say, hey, the interview has been scheduled. It goes into their calendar, so there's no forgetting. Everyone is getting communication in real time. So that eliminates a lot of the little tedious tasks that is involved in recruitment. And when you're dealing with large-scale organizations, you can have hundreds or even thousands of applications. And so it becomes very difficult to manage that, right? And one of the complaints that you hear a lot from persons looking for employment is that HR doesn't respond. They don't get a response to their applications. So this helps the candidate to get real-time communication. And then if they're not selected, they would also get communication to say they're not selected. So each step of the process, there's communication. Whatever documents are needed, they're uploaded into the portal. So by the time you come in for an interview, you're doing the interview, and then the decision regarding who moves to the next phase would happen, and that communication would be sent simply by a drop-down box by the hiring manager. Candidate moves on to round 2. If you select that, the candidate then gets communication. Moving along from that to the actual hiring, once the person would have been hired, then depending on the organization and how much you want to use the system, you can also put in your onboarding processes. So like an intranet with all the information, orientation, so all of that relevant information that the employee would need to be able to become familiar with processes within the organization, all of that can be used, put into that same system to assist companies so that you're not constantly bogged down with these small tasks that are very important, mind you, but they do take a lot of time. So that's what the software really does. Well, first of all, I always say that proximity matters, right? Who you're surrounded by is very important. And being a part of a global institution like the Maxwell Leadership Institution, where there are over 30,000 coaches globally, it puts me in community with like-minded persons, right? And so that then creates an environment for growth. And so that has helped me on my leadership journey to see what best practices exist, to see what I'm doing well, to see where I can do better. You're constantly learning, right? Because you have mentors and coaches that you have access to on any day of the week. 24 hours a day, you can access information, whether it's watching a teaching that might have happened during the day or hopping on a call in the evening to ask relevant questions to help you. So that has really helped to shape me as a leader. And I've met so many wonderful persons that I am able to learn from, partner with, collaborate with, to help their communities as they help me to help mine. And when it comes to leadership, I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. But if I were to say what is the key to effective leadership, I think it starts with empathy. You have to genuinely care about people in order to lead them. And sometimes I feel like we need to go back to the basics, right? There are a lot of buzzwords and jargon that we can use, and it sounds good. But when it all boils down to it, leadership is about caring for other people, putting their needs above your own. It's about helping them to see their potential and giving them the tools and resources to equip them so that they're able to grow, right? And, I love leadership because you get to watch people blossom. You can see it in them, and sometimes they don't see it in themselves. And you just help them to discover who they truly are and to gain the skills that they need to become effective leaders. And when you look back and you see so many people that you would have had a part to play in their development, and you see them achieve so many great things, it really warms your heart, right? And you're proud. It's almost like parenting. So for me, leadership is really simple. Care about people, pour into people, give people opportunities. Don't be afraid to call their names in spaces that they are not yet privy to and extend opportunities to them, because that's what leadership is really all about. The beauty of being involved in youth work, and even beyond just Edward Gotland, I used to be in children's ministry as well as youth ministries. And the beauty of that is you're molding young lives. And I have been fortunate to be able to see persons that I would have mentored now become adults, and in some instances working in the same organization that I am a part of. And it just shows you how important being involved in the lives of young people is. And again, it goes back to proximity, right? Because the more time you invest in young people, the more you help them to grow and to develop. And then you watch them become that butterfly. And I think if I had to choose anything that really makes my heart smile about serving young girls, it's being able to watch them overcome their own struggles, gain confidence. When I think about the last group of girls that I worked with at the youth center, I went into that group, and there were so many persons that were afraid to speak. They were shy, they lacked confidence. And by the end of the term, to have them speaking publicly and exuding confidence, that's important, right? Because helping girls to discover who they are very early and to know their self-worth, right? To know how valuable they are and how much they are capable of. And then seeing them begin to walk into that purpose. I think that is like, the most gratifying thing you could ever experience. Sure. So, with the podcast and radio show, one of the things that I am most happy about is that I was able to, through technology, bring voices from not just Turks and Caicos, but beyond Turks and Caicos. People in the leadership space regionally and internationally, so that we're able to learn more, to understand what's happening in the region, what's happening globally, and how we can take that information and become better leaders in our own community. So that was one of the approaches that I took in both the podcast as well as the radio show. And if I had to choose one episode that I think stood out for me, it would be the episode during Breast Cancer Awareness Month with Dr. Denise Brathwaite, because, you know, she shared her story publicly, but there's still a lot of people who didn't know of her story. And when I look at her, she's just the epitome of grace. She's so humble. And you would have never known that she was dealing with her own struggles while also being a leader, right? And this is what happens, not just with women, but men also. We all go through challenges in life, and we're navigating that while we're also raising families, while we're having difficult life circumstances. And we put a smile on our faces and we go about our day, and people just don't know. And so when she shared on the show about her own experience and how she overcome it, and her faith being a big part of that. I'm a woman of faith, and that resonated with me, and I could relate to that story as a woman in leadership. And I think so many other viewers could also, and listeners could also relate to that. I think it's sometimes difficult to measure how effective you are when you are actually doing the work. For me, that measurement comes long after. So just recently, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I realized that one of my former mentees through the Girls Club was an employee at West Bay Club. And I didn't know, right? So I work for Grace Bay Resorts, and that's one of our properties. And so I went to a staff awards, and she was there and being nominated for Employee of the Quarter. And I was so proud. I was just so proud to see her, because I remembered Abigail from a little tot, and just to see how well-rounded she's become. She's such a very hard worker, and to have an opportunity to speak with her and have her share with me the impact that I had on her life, that's when you realize how effective you're being. Sometimes you never know that until years down the road, right? So I can't really measure the impact of the literacy program today, but I'm sure that in the years to come, there'll be a student somewhere that comes and says, Ms. Sheba, I remember you, and this is what you did to help me. And so I don't do anything looking for praise. I do it because I care. And so I can only hope that whatever I do has an impact, and that maybe in my lifetime I get to hear of the impact. Well, I don't know that balance is ever attainable, because when we think about balance, we're thinking that, we have this scale and everything needs to have equal weight. But I don't think that's what we actually mean when we say balance. In life, we have all these competing priorities. So family is important, your children's important, the career is important, and you're juggling all these balls on any given day. And sometimes one thing will be the thing that takes priority today, and then tomorrow something else has to take priority. So it's weighing in the balance. What is absolutely necessary today, and what can wait? Or what can I delegate to someone else? Or can I ask for help in this area so that everything is taken care of? And just being honest with yourself about that. It's interesting that question is asked, because I had a conversation with my daughter today as I was picking her up from volleyball and rushing home to get ready to come to this. And I said to her, I think I need to hire a nanny just to drive because I find that I'm the chauffeur. I'm picking up and dropping off several times a week. But you want your children to be well-rounded and to experience sports and extracurricular activities and being involved in clubs and the academics and church and all of these things that they're creating for their own lives. And then on the flip side, you're juggling the career and the family. And so it becomes a lot to manage, but just deciding what is a priority right now. I absolutely have to do this. And then what I can give to someone else to assist with and what I can put off until tomorrow, and being just very honest with yourself about it and knowing when it's time to rest. And that's simply how I do it. Last night I was supposed to be somewhere and I had to say, they'll forgive me because I was too tired and I needed to rest, and I listened to my body and I rested. So that's how we balance. Yeah, so, I speak a lot about navigating challenges and adversity. And so my chapter in the book, Voices for Leadership, dealt with that. It dealt with how do we as leaders navigate trying times, challenges in the leadership space, personally and professionally. And, the key takeaway from that chapter is simply the title of my book. We have to live above our circumstances, to live above defeat. And so the lead in She Will Lead and Get Up and Lead, it simply stands for live every day above defeat. And what does that mean? It means that we are going to encounter challenges. We're going to have adverse circumstances, but it's our mindset surrounding adversity is going to determine how we navigate, right? And so possessing a growth mindset. In my book, I share an acronym for GRIT, because I believe that I lead my life through the grace of God, extending grace to myself, and then through grit. And for me, grit is having a mindset to grow through challenges. And it's being resilient, recognizing that when we're going through difficult circumstances, that's an opportunity for us to stretch, for our resilience muscles to be built, right? It's a muscle, it has to be stretched in order for it to grow. And then being intentional about how you use your time, what you give your energy to, being intentional about how you live your life, right? Just not coasting, but just having the presence of mind to be intentional about everything that you do, knowing what it is you want, what outcome you're desiring, and then pursuing that. And then tenacity, just having a tenacious spirit, recognizing that I may fall down, but I'm going to get back up, and I may fail, but I'm going to learn from the failure. And I think once you have that type of mindset, no matter what challenges life throws your way, you'll overcome them. Certainly, there are so many, but this month there's a journal that I published. The Kindle version is already live, and the paperback should be live tomorrow, actually. And that journal is called Jesus, Coffee, Everything Else. And it was an idea that came to me because I'm a morning person, and I would get up in the morning and make myself a cup of coffee and have conversations with Jesus. And so I just thought about, my own journey, and I love journaling because you can write everything down and you can go back and see just how the hand of God moves in your life. And so I've journaled for a very long time, and this is my second journal. There's a journal, Get Up and Lead journal, that's an accompaniment to Get Up and Lead, the book. But this particular journal is a spiritual journal. So it's using scriptures to inspire persons at the beginning of their day, to set the intention for your day and to really start your day with Jesus. So if you're a coffee drinker or a tea drinker, it doesn't matter. Grab your cup of coffee or your cup of tea and have that space that's carved out just for you and Jesus to have your morning conversations and to plan out your day. Because I live by the 4 P's: pray, plan, prepare, and produce. So everything starts with prayer, because I need to know whether or not what I'm thinking is aligned with what God has for me to do. And then once I get that green light from him, then I begin to plan. I prepare myself while waiting, right? Because sometimes we think I'm waiting on God, but he's actually waiting on us. So you have to prepare yourself, and that comes through being intentional with your growth. And then once you would have prayed, planned, prepared, and produced would be the next part. So that is the formula. There's no secret sauce, but that's the formula to everything that I do. I put God first, seek his guidance, I plan, I prepare, and then I produce. So that's the project that comes out next. I also have a course that I'm working on that should be launched in the first quarter of next year. And this course is a career accelerator course, just basically helping persons who are looking to be promoted, helping them to prepare themselves for promotion, because the time to prepare for promotion is long before the opportunity presents itself. And so I am a firm believer in that, and I just want to use all of the knowledge that I've gained over the years. In the last 13 years, I've had 5 or 6 roles. And so if anyone is qualified to talk about how to be promoted, I believe that I am, because I averaged a promotion every 2 years. So I want to take what I've learned and help others to prepare themselves and have the same success in their careers. Well, I love to cook. A lot of people are surprised when I say that, but I'm an excellent cook. I also bake. So anything in the kitchen, I find very therapeutic. I love putting my hands in flour, kneading bread. I just find it to be so relaxing. That might be weird to some people, but for me, it's a way for me to really de-stress. And I love to travel, but I love experiencing cultures and different cuisines and learning about the history of the country and what the people, when I travel, I like to experience what the locals experience. So I like experiential trips where I can learn about different places and get to know the people and their way of life. And sometimes I have to use travel for business and incorporate a bit of that into it, because I've been traveling quite a bit for business. But I always try to, at least once or twice a year, have travel that's just for family and fun.